The stars glimmered outside the palace windows as Captain Rin and Princess Leora stood in the council chamber, watching holographic projections of the approaching fleet. It was unlike anything the council had seen before, ships sleek and dark, moving with precision and purpose. The fleet's intent was unknown, but the energy signatures indicated advanced technology and coordination. "This fleet is dangerous," Leora said, her voice calm but tense. "If they reach the inner sectors without caution, they could destabilize multiple star systems. And their motives, we cannot predict." Rin studied the projection carefully. "They are testing boundaries, Princess. Their movement is calculated. They are watching reactions, but humans can act decisively under pressure, and unpredictability can be an advantage." The princess raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Rin pointed to the fleet's trajectory. "They expect a standard response: caution, delay, negotiation. If we respond differently, using both strategy and boldness, we can influence their behavior before conflict begins. Humans think quickly, adapt, and take calculated risks. That is our strength." Leora nodded slowly. "Then we act. But we must also protect those who cannot defend themselves: civilian star systems, trade vessels, and neutral planets. Strategy must be precise." Rin activated the holographic interface, mapping out multiple potential paths. He suggested sending a small human-led team aboard agile ships to intercept and communicate with the fleet. At the same time, larger council ships would maintain defensive positions, ensuring no innocent systems were threatened. The other aliens in the room were skeptical. Many had never trusted humans to lead in a crisis. "It is too risky," one diplomat said. "They may provoke the fleet." Rin turned calmly. "Humans do not provoke. We act with logic, courage, and clarity. Risk is unavoidable, but careful, decisive action can prevent disaster and inspire trust." Leora smiled faintly. "Exactly what we need. Captain, lead the team. Show the galaxy why humans are different." Within cycles, the human-led fleet was ready. Captain Rin's team, small but skilled, moved with precision. They approached the unknown ships cautiously, using advanced sensors to detect energy signatures and communication attempts. The first encounter was tense. A dark ship turned toward Rin's vessel, its engines humming with power. The unknown fleet's leader hailed them, a voice sharp and mechanical. "State your intent. Identify yourselves," Rin responded clearly, confidently. "We are envoys of the United Galactic Council, sent to understand your purpose. We seek peace and cooperation. We mean no harm." There was a pause, long enough to make even the experienced crew tense. Then the fleet moved closer, scanning the human ships. Rin's calm and methodical approach kept the fleet uncertain, unable to act aggressively without knowing more. Back at the palace, Princess Leora monitored the exchange. Her amber eyes shone with cautious optimism. "Humans are extraordinary," she said. "They act with courage and morality, and they inspire others to reconsider their actions." The unknown fleet tested the human-led team repeatedly, sending obstacles, deceptive signals, and complex maneuvers. At each step, Rin responded with strategy and adaptability. He communicated with the fleet using logic and honesty, while simultaneously positioning his ships to prevent any attack on neutral systems. Other council members began to notice. Aliens who had doubted humans whispered among themselves, realizing that these unpredictable creatures were achieving what their advanced technology and centuries of diplomacy could not. Humans acted quickly, decisively, and ethically, a combination that proved more powerful than brute strength or tradition alone. Finally, the unknown fleet halted. Their leader's voice came again. "Your actions are unusual. You have demonstrated caution, clarity, and courage. We did not expect this. Perhaps your species is worthy of consideration." Rin nodded respectfully. "We only seek understanding and cooperation. Violence is unnecessary when reason and courage guide our actions." The fleet slowly adjusted course, moving into communication channels with the Council. Through human ingenuity, the potential threat had been neutralized without conflict. Peace for the moment had been preserved. Back at the palace, the Hall of Light was filled with whispers of admiration. Aliens who had once doubted humans now looked at them with respect. Even the nobles who had conspired against the princess were forced to acknowledge the effectiveness of human courage and reasoning. Princess Leora approached Rin, her smile warm and sincere. "Captain, you have done more than act bravely. You have prevented conflict, protected countless systems, and shown the galaxy the value of humans. Your courage and ingenuity have changed perceptions today. Rin shook his head slightly. I did only what humans can do, Princess. We face challenges with thought, courage, and morality. That is all we offer. More than enough, Leora replied. You have demonstrated what I have long believed, that humans are a force of inspiration, not intimidation. They act where others hesitate, see what others ignore, and protect where others might turn away. News of the human-led intervention spread quickly across the Council and beyond. Star systems that had once regarded humans as distant, unpredictable visitors now saw them as capable, courageous, and principled. The Council began to consider humans as more than allies. They were symbols of hope, demonstrating that bravery combined with morality could unite worlds in ways previously thought impossible. Rin stood with his team in the Council chamber, receiving praise and acknowledgement from Princess Leora and others. His calm demeanor and steady actions had not only averted potential disaster but had also inspired trust across alien civilizations. Leora's amber eyes met Rin's. You have done more than complete a test or neutralize a threat. You have opened the door to a new era of cooperation, understanding, and hope. The galaxy will remember today. Rin nodded quietly. Humans are guided by courage, thought, and principle. If our actions help others see the value of unity and trust, then we have done what we can. The Hall of Light, once filled with whispers of fear and caution, now radiated a new energy. Aliens, humans, and representatives of countless star systems stood together, realizing that courage, morality, and intelligence could overcome even the most uncertain challenges. Princess Leora raised her hand, signaling unity and acknowledgement. Today we have witnessed what is possible when courage meets wisdom. Captain Rin and his people have shown the galaxy that strength lies not in fear, dominance, or deceit, but in intelligence, bravery, and principle. Let this be remembered as the day humanity shone. Rin lowered his head respectfully, feeling the weight and honor of her words. He had not sought recognition, power, or reward. He had acted with courage, reason, and integrity, true human qualities, and in doing so, he had not only protected the galaxy but had inspired it. As the stars shimmered beyond the palace walls, the unknown fleet had turned, communications now open and respectful. Threats had been neutralized without violence. Alliances had begun to form where suspicion had once ruled. And the Hall of Light, where no alien had dared approach the princess before, had become the stage where humanity's true nature was revealed. Courageous, principled, and brilliant. For the first time in cycles, Princess Leora felt hope that extended beyond her own kingdom. She looked at Rin, understanding that humans, unpredictable yet principled, had become more than allies. They were a symbol of possibility, a reminder that courage, intelligence, and morality could shine even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Captain Rin smiled faintly. The galaxy is vast and full of challenges, he said. But as long as we act with courage, wisdom, and principle, there is always hope. Princess Leora's amber eyes reflected that hope. Then let us face the future together. Humanity has shown its strength and the galaxy will never be the same. And so the Hall of Light, once a place of fear and caution, became a place of inspiration. Aliens and humans alike understood that courage, ingenuity, and morality were the true powers of the galaxy. And as Captain Rin and Princess Leora looked toward the stars, they knew that a new era had begun, an era in which humans would shine, not through fear or dominance, but through bravery, intellect, and heart. The stars above seemed to glow brighter that night, as if recognizing the arrival of a species capable of changing the course of history. And across the galaxy, whispers began to spread, not of fear, but of hope, courage, and humanity. The grand hall of the Varelian Council shimmered with light. Floating orbs glided silently above the chamber, casting golden reflections on the polished crystal floor. The council elders sat in their usual semicircle, faces calm but eyes sharp with scrutiny. Today they would make their judgment. Captain Aaron stood in the center of the hall. He had faced the forest of shifting lights, solved the riddle of wisdom, and defended the palace from a large raider attack. Yet despite all his achievements, he felt a twinge of nervousness. The final decision rested not only with the council, but with Princess Liana herself. Elder Corrin's voice broke the silence. Captain Aaron, human of Earth, you have completed all trials set before you. You have demonstrated courage, wisdom, ingenuity, and character. Few could have done what you have accomplished, yet the council must still consider the deeper question. Is a human worthy of the princess's hand? Aaron bowed respectfully. I do not ask for favor, Elder Corin. I only hope I have proven myself worthy through my actions, the council murmured. Some elders nodded slowly, impressed despite centuries of skepticism. Others were still hesitant, clinging to old beliefs. Princess Liana rose from her seat slightly apart from the council. Her silver gown shimmered like starlight, and her long hair flowed down her back. She stepped forward, calm and deliberate, her gaze fixed on Aaron. The council has watched you, she said, her voice clear and steady. You have faced every challenge with courage, with intelligence, and with respect. You have shown that humans are capable of more than appearances suggest. And yet, she paused, scanning the council, it is my choice alone to decide whom I trust, whom I stand beside, and whom I call my partner. Aaron's heart pounded. He had expected scrutiny, doubt, even rejection, but he did not flinch. He stood tall, remembering every trial, every challenge, and every moment he had acted with honesty and courage. Liana smiled gently at him. Captain Aaron, humans have shown resilience, ingenuity, and hope, qualities that my people value deeply. You have proven that you are not only brave and wise, but also compassionate and respectful. These are qualities that matter more than any birthright or species. The chamber was silent. The council members watched, some surprised, some hesitant, as Liana's gaze remained on the human before her. Slowly, she extended her hand toward Aaron. I choose you, she said simply, her voice carrying across the hall. Not because the council demands it, not because of fear or custom, but because I believe in what I see in you. Aaron felt a surge of emotion. He stepped forward and took her hand, holding it gently but firmly. The warmth of her touch felt steady, reassuring, and full of trust. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The council members exchanged glances. Some were shocked, others whispered quietly, and a few younger members began to smile. The elders who had doubted humans' worth looked down, unable to deny the truth before them. Aaron had proven something they had never expected, that humanity's strength lay not in size, speed, or technology, but in courage, creativity, and heart. Elder Corin finally spoke, his tone measured but filled with respect. Captain Aaron, human of Earth, the princess has made her choice. You have faced every trial, and in doing so, you have shown qualities worthy of recognition. It seems the council has much to reconsider about your people. Aaron bowed again, feeling a mixture of pride, relief, and humility. I am honored, he said simply. I will continue to do my best, not just for myself, but for humanity, and for this alliance. Liana squeezed his hand lightly. And I will stand beside you not as a princess constrained by duty, but as someone who believes in what you represent. Courage, wisdom, and hope, these are the qualities that bind worlds together. The chamber filled with murmurs and whispers. For centuries, the council had held the Varelian way as supreme, and now, in the presence of a human, they had witnessed something extraordinary. A species long underestimated could stand proud, face impossible challenges, and earn trust through character and action. You have done more than survive the trials, Liana continued. You have inspired not just me, but my people. Even the elders, despite their hesitation, must now see that humans can achieve greatness. Aaron felt a warmth inside him. He thought of Earth, of the journey across the stars, of all the people who had believed in humanity's potential. This moment was not just for him. It was proof that humans could rise to meet challenges across the galaxy. The council slowly rose from their seats. Some elders approached him cautiously, nodding their approval. Your actions speak louder than words, one elder said quietly. Perhaps we have judged too quickly. Another added, your courage and wisdom are undeniable. The princess's choice seems correct. Even those who had doubted before could not hide their respect. Aaron realized that the trials had changed more than his fate. They had changed perceptions, opened minds, and built bridges between species. Princess Liana looked up at the council, then back to Aaron. Let this union not be seen as human or Varelian alone, she said. Let it be seen as a bond built on trust, courage, and hope. That is what matters most. The hall seemed to glow brighter as the words settled over everyone. Aaron felt the weight of history in that moment. Humans had arrived on Varelia not with weapons or arrogance, but with humility, courage, and creativity. And now, They had forged a connection that could endure for generations. Orion turned to the princess, a quiet smile on his face. "I will do everything I can to honor this trust," he said. "Not just for you, but for all of humanity and for the people of Virelia." Liana nodded, her expression warm. "And I will stand with you, Aaron. Together, we can show what is possible when courage, wisdom, and heart guide our actions." Outside the hall, the city of Virelia glimmered under the light of countless stars. The floating towers sparkled and the crystal rivers reflected the sky. It was a new dawn for the planet and perhaps for the galaxy itself. The union of human and Virelian was more than personal. It was symbolic of cooperation, understanding, and hope for the future. The council slowly dismissed themselves. Leaving Aaron and Liana alone in the hall, she took his hand again, firmly and confidently. "Are you ready?" she asked. Aaron smiled, feeling a steady confidence he had never known before. "Yes, I'm ready for whatever comes next." Together, they walked to the balcony overlooking the city. The air was calm, filled with soft luminescence. The people of Virelia could see them, and some began to cheer quietly, inspired by the courage and determination of a human who had dared to stand beside a princess. "You have done something extraordinary," Liana said softly. "Not just for yourself, but for humanity. And not just for me, but for my people." Aaron nodded. "I only followed what I knew humans could do. We adapt, we learn, and we act. And we never give up." Liana smiled, her hand still holding his. "Then let us face the future together. If humans and Virelians can stand together, there is nothing we cannot achieve." As they looked out over the city, Aaron felt a deep sense of pride and hope. Humans had crossed the stars, faced doubts and danger, and shown their worth. He had proven that courage, wisdom, and heart could overcome prejudice and fear. The stars twinkled above, reflecting the light of possibility. The council had laughed once, doubting the small human who dared to step into their world. But now that same human stood beside the princess, hand in hand, ready to face the future with courage and hope. And in that moment, Aaron understood the truth of the universe. Even the smallest being from the humblest world could rise to greatness when guided by determination, heart, and the belief that anything was possible. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's courage, and humanity had proven that it was not only capable of survival, but capable of inspiring awe, respect, and trust among the stars. The journey was far from over, but for now Captain Aaron and Princess Liana stood together, a symbol of unity and hope, and the council, once doubtful, could no longer deny what they had seen. For in the heart of the Virelian palace, under the watchful gaze of centuries-old wisdom, the princess had taken the human's hand, and in doing so, she had chosen courage, wisdom, and hope above all else, and so a new chapter began, for humans, for Virelians, and for the endless possibilities of the stars. The Hall of Light had settled into an uneasy calm. Captain Rin stood near the pedestal, where the sphere of the test of courage now glowed softly, a symbol of his success. Aliens whispered among themselves, some impressed, some unsettled. Humans, they realized, were not like other species. They acted with courage and logic in equal measure, and that combination was unpredictable. Princess Leora watched Rin closely. She had seen many visitors attempt the test of courage, but none had handled it with his clarity and composure. She was beginning to understand that humans were something extraordinary, creatures unafraid of danger, guided by their principles rather than fear alone. Yet even as the hall quieted, danger lurked in the shadows. A group of alien nobles resentful of Leora's rule had been watching carefully. They had planned to use the test of courage to embarrass her, to show the galaxy that even a princess could be undermined by a clever scheme. And now they realized that the human had interfered with their plan. One of the nobles, a tall, gray-skinned being with sharp horns and piercing eyes, signaled to a hidden assistant. The assistant, almost invisible against the patterns of light on the floor, activated a small device hidden behind a pillar. It was designed to create a surge of energy that could trap or harm anyone approaching the dais. The plan was precise: disrupt the hall, confuse the princess, and make Rin look foolish or reckless. But humans were observant. Rin noticed a subtle vibration in the floor, a faint ripple of energy that did not belong to the test. His instincts, honed through countless experiences, alerted him immediately. He stepped closer to the source, crouched, and examined it. The device was small, almost invisible, but its purpose was clear. Without hesitation, he disarmed it. Using his quick hands and careful observation, he adjusted the device's components, neutralizing its energy signature. The device went silent. Rin stepped back, glancing toward the nobles who had tried to conceal their interference. Their faces were masks of shock. No alien had ever detected their trap so quickly. The princess's amber eyes widened in surprise. "You see danger where others cannot," she said softly. "And you act without hesitation to protect others? That is remarkable," Rin straightened. "It is not bravery alone, princess. It is observation, understanding, and action. Humans believe that courage must be paired with thought." The nobles whispered furiously among themselves. Their plan had failed, and worse, the human had exposed their intentions without anyone else noticing. Several envoys shifted uncomfortably, realizing that humans were a new variable they had not accounted for. The princess waved a hand gracefully, restoring calm. "The hall has many layers, Captain Rin," she said. "Some challenges are not seen and some threats are hidden. You have demonstrated both skill and character, but the galaxy will test you further, for not all dangers are within this room." Rin nodded, understanding her meaning. The hall, magnificent as it was, represented only a small part of the complexities of the galaxy. Diplomacy, politics, and strategy often carried dangers greater than any physical obstacle. And humans, with their combination of courage and quick thinking, were uniquely suited to navigate them. As the whispers died down, a soft alarm sounded from the far end of the hall. A small group of palace guards rushed toward the entrance, their movements precise and urgent. Princess Leora stood, her expression alert. "An intruder?" she asked, her voice calm but commanding. "Not exactly," one of the guards replied. "Sensors indicate unusual energy readings near the outer corridors. It may be a device or an unauthorized presence." Rin's instincts sharpened. He had faced hidden threats before, and this one, subtle as it was, felt deliberate. He glanced at the princess. "May I investigate, princess? It could be dangerous." Leora studied him for a long moment. His human courage, combined with intelligence, had impressed her already. She nodded. "Be careful, Captain Rin. The halls are safe for most, but not all threats are visible." Rin moved quickly, stepping into the corridor. The palace walls glowed softly, illuminating his path. The energy readings grew stronger as he advanced. He noticed subtle disturbances in the floor panels and slight shifts in the light patterns. Signs of tampering. He followed the trail carefully, using observation rather than haste. Finally, he reached a small chamber tucked behind a hidden door. Inside was a device larger than the one he had disarmed earlier. Its energy pulsed rhythmically, a silent but dangerous force. Rin crouched, analyzing the structure. It was not a weapon designed to kill, but a trap to trap and immobilize anyone nearby, a perfect tool for political sabotage. His fingers moved quickly and precisely, adjusting components, neutralizing energy flows, and disarming the device. By the time he finished, the device lay harmless, its threat removed. Returning to the main hall, Rin reported to the princess. "The device is neutralized, princess. Someone intended harm or manipulation, but it is no longer a threat." Leora's gaze was sharp and thoughtful. "This confirms what I suspected. Not all allies in the hall are as they seem. Some seek to undermine diplomacy for their own gain." She looked at the assembled aliens, and yet a human saw the danger and acted. "Perhaps the galaxy needs such courage more than I realized." The aliens whispered, some anxious, some admiring. Humans had proven they could act decisively where others hesitated. Their actions were unpredictable, yes, but effective and morally sound. One of the conspiring nobles stepped forward, attempting to speak in a calm voice. "Princess, it is merely coincidence. These devices, these energies, they are natural malfunctions. Surely no harm was intended." Leora's amber eyes narrowed slightly. "I am not so easily convinced. Captain Rin has neutralized not one but 2 threats today. That is not coincidence. It is intent, and intent must be acknowledged." The noble faltered, realizing that the humans' actions had exposed their plans. Several envoys shifted, uncomfortable with the clear demonstration of human ability and insight. For the first time, many realized that humans were not to be underestimated. Rin stepped forward respectfully. "Princess Leora, I only acted to ensure safety and fairness. Humans do not seek power through deception. We act to protect and to reason. Others may not understand, but that is our way." The princess smiled softly. Indeed, Captain. You act not for personal gain, but for principle. That is rare even among the oldest civilizations, and perhaps that is exactly what is needed to bring balance to the galaxy. The hall relaxed slightly, though whispers continued. Some aliens muttered anxiously about human audacity. Others stared at Ren with newfound respect. The presence of humans, unpredictable and fearless, had shifted the balance of perception. For centuries, aliens had regarded themselves as masters of strategy, diplomacy, and power. Humans were something new, something neither fully understood nor easily dismissed. As the day drew on, Princess Leora summoned Rin to a private chamber within the palace. The room was smaller, more intimate than the vast hall, but still elegant and regal. Soft light poured in through crystalline windows, and the faint hum of the palace's energy filled the space. "You have done more than complete the test of courage. Captain Rin," she said, her voice calm and measured, "you have shown insight, bravery, and moral clarity. But the galaxy is not as simple as these halls. Politics, ambition, and fear shape every decision. Are you prepared to face challenges beyond what you have seen today?" Rin nodded. "Princess, humans are not afraid of the unknown. We face it with intelligence, courage, and cooperation."
"I am ready to help where I can." Leora studied him for a moment, her amber eyes thoughtful.
"I believe you, Captain. There is much to be done, and I think humanity may hold the key to bringing stability and trust to worlds that have never known either." The soft hum of the palace seemed to echo her words. Outside the chamber, the Hall of Light shimmered, reflecting the growing awareness among the gathered aliens. Humans were not simply another species. They were brave, clever, and principled. They could act where others hesitated. They could see dangers others ignored. And perhaps most importantly, they could inspire hope in ways no alien had done in cycles. Captain Rin bowed slightly. "I am honored, Princess. I will do my best." Leora's lips curved into a small smile. "I believe you will, Captain. And perhaps together, we can face the challenges that lie ahead, hidden dangers, political schemes, and threats that even the oldest civilizations cannot predict." For the first time in many cycles, Princess Leora felt a sense of cautious optimism. The Hall of Light, once a place where fear ruled and caution reigned, had become a place where humans had proven their worth. Not through strength, not through wealth, but through courage, intelligence, and principle. The galaxy, she realized, might be changing, and Captain Rin had become a symbol of that change. The capital planet of the Varelian Empire shimmered beneath a pale green sun, its cities built with towers of silver glass and streets that gleamed like polished stones. In the heart of the capital, the grand palace of the royal family rose above everything else. It was a place of awe and discipline, where every rule was sacred and every citizen knew their place. The most revered figure of all was Princess Leora, daughter of Emperor Varen. She was called the Untouchable, for no one dared come near her without permission. Not nobles, not guards, not even her closest advisors. Princess Leora moved with an elegance that seemed almost otherworldly. Her long silver hair caught the sunlight, and her eyes reflected intelligence and quiet authority. Though her life was filled with luxury, she was not free. Every gesture was watched, every word recorded. The people admired her, feared her, and whispered tales of her perfection. She was trained to be a ruler, and from the moment she could walk, she had followed the rigid rules of the court. In a faraway system, humans prepared to make their first diplomatic visit to the Varelians. They were a curious species, clever and bold, with an unyielding spirit that often surprised other civilizations. Captain Ryan led the human delegation. He was known for his courage, intelligence, and calm demeanor in tense situations. Unlike the Varelians, humans valued initiative and respected bravery, even when it challenged tradition. Ryan's ship descended into the capital city. Its hull shone in the green sunlight reflecting on the glass towers. Citizens watched in awe as the human craft landed near the royal palace. It was a rare sight. Few had seen humans before, and their arrival stirred a mixture of excitement and suspicion. Inside the palace, Princess Leora watched the preparations for the ceremony. She had seen many ambassadors, many envoys, but something about the humans intrigued her. She could sense a quiet confidence in the way they moved, a respect for life that the Varelian court sometimes lacked. Yet she reminded herself that no one, human or Varelian, could approach her without permission. That was the law, and the law had never failed her. The ceremony began in the palace's grand hall, a room large enough to hold thousands of dignitaries. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, reflecting light across the polished floors. Guards lined the walls, their armor gleaming. The Imperial Council members sat on raised platforms, their expressions solemn and rigid. Captain Rian entered the hall with his delegation. He had studied Varelian customs carefully, knowing that even a small mistake could offend the court. He observed the princess from a distance. Leora stood at the far end of the hall, surrounded by a circle of guards. She moved gracefully, acknowledging the council and the visitors with precise gestures. As the ceremony continued, a sudden tremor shook the hall. Dust fell from the ceiling and the guard's armor clanged. A mechanical failure had caused a section of the platform to shake violently. The nobles gasped, and some stumbled backward. Princess Leora froze for a moment, her silver robes fluttering with the movement. A small step away from the edge could have sent her falling. Ryan's heart raced. He knew that no human could touch her. Breaking that law would be considered an unforgivable offense. Yet he could not simply watch. He instinctively took a step forward, his mind calculating the distance, the timing, and the risk. At the same time, one of the royal guards reacted, but they were too slow. The platform quivered, and for a brief second it seemed the princess might fall. In that instant, Leora's eyes met Ryan's. There was no fear, only a quiet acknowledgement. Ryan bowed slightly, an instinctive gesture humans use to show respect before taking action. It was unusual in the eyes of the Varelians. The act of bowing to the Untouchable was unheard of. Ryan moved with precision. Using a mechanical tether from his belt, he threw a small stabilizing device that anchored the platform, giving the guards a chance to secure it. The trembling stopped. The hall fell silent. No one had expected a human to act so decisively, yet carefully, without breaking the sacred rules of the court. Princess Leora adjusted her posture, hiding the faintest hint of surprise on her face. She had never seen someone so bold yet so respectful. The council members whispered amongst themselves, confusion and shock in their voices. No human had ever dared to show that level of courage and awareness. After the ceremony, Leora returned to her private chambers where she often spent hours in contemplation. She stood by the balcony looking over the city. Her mind replayed the incident. The human who had bowed, he had acted with honor, with intelligence, and without fear. He had risked breaking the most sacred law of her empire to protect her life. Yet he had done it in a way that was almost respectful. The princess wondered if the humans truly understood the rules of the Varelian Empire. Perhaps they did not, and perhaps that was why they acted without hesitation. Leora felt a spark of curiosity she had not experienced in years. For the first time, she questioned her own life, her confinement, her rigid routines, and the invisible walls of tradition that had always surrounded her. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan and his team prepared to meet the princess officially. They were briefed on the customs and warned again not to touch her, not to speak out of turn, and not to act in ways that could be considered disrespectful. Yet Rian's mind lingered on the brief moment when he had stabilized the platform. He had acted instinctively, guided by humanity's natural drive to protect life and honor courage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long green shadows across the palace, the human delegation dined quietly. They discussed the observations they had made, the rules they had seen, and the remarkable presence of Princess Leora. They admired her composure, her grace, and the aura of authority that seemed to radiate naturally from her. Back in her chambers, Leora held a small crystal orb, a symbol of her authority and the legacy of her family. She rotated it in her hands, thinking about the strange human who had bowed before her. In Varelian culture, such a gesture would normally be considered submission, perhaps even weakness. Yet Rian's bow was different. It was deliberate, respectful, and full of purpose. It acknowledged her authority but did not diminish his own strength. The princess smiled faintly, a rare expression. She decided that she would learn more about the humans. There was something in their way of thinking, something brave, adaptable, and free that fascinated her. Perhaps, she thought, the humans could teach her something she had never learned within the walls of the palace. Night fell over the capital. The palace, with its silver towers and glowing lights, stood as a symbol of the Varelian Empire's grandeur and discipline. Princess Leora looked out at the stars beyond the city. Somewhere among them, humans had come from distant worlds, bringing with them ideas and courage unlike anything she had ever known. And in the quiet of her chambers, she made a decision. She would observe, she would learn, and perhaps she would discover a world beyond the strict rules that had governed her life. The human who had bowed before her was only the beginning. The first chapter of this encounter had ended, but the story was far from over. Across the palace, in the human quarters, Captain Ryan studied the palace layout and the Varelian customs once more. He did not yet know the influence his single act of courage had on the princess, but he would soon discover that even small gestures could change the course of history. And so, under the pale green sun of the capital planet, two beings, one human, one Varelian, stood at the beginning of a journey that would test courage, challenge tradition, and reveal the unexpected power of respect, honor, and understanding. The next morning, the capital planet of the Varelian Empire gleamed under the pale green sun. The human delegation prepared for the grand ceremonial audience, an event meant to formally introduce them to Princess Leora. The palace corridors were alive with servants, guards, and advisors, all moving with exact precision. Every sound, every step seemed orchestrated to perfection. Captain Ryan walked alongside his team, noting the intricate carvings on the palace walls and the sparkling floors that reflected every movement. Yet even in this display of grandeur, his attention was drawn to the small details. The quick glance of a guard at the princess, the subtle nods between council members, and the way the Varelians' posture reflected their unwavering discipline. Princess Leora, meanwhile, prepared herself for the audience. She wore her ceremonial robes, woven with threads that shimmered like the surface of the planet's rivers. Her silver hair was braided with precision, and her eyes, usually calm, held a spark of curiosity. She had spent the night thinking about the human who had bowed before her. In her culture, such an act would have been unthinkable. Yet this human had shown both respect and courage in a single motion. The grand hall was filled with nobles, advisors, and spectators from across the empire. The humans entered last, escorted by palace attendants. The Varelian council observed with stern expressions, their eyes sharp as if measuring every gesture of the visitors. Captain Ryan and his team moved carefully, aware of every protocol. Princess Leora appeared at the center of the hall, standing atop a raised platform. She was radiant, and the silence of the room seemed to deepen around her. The humans bowed slightly as they approached, showing respect without overstepping boundaries. Yet Ryan's mind lingered on the delicate balance between honor and tradition. Suddenly, a tremor ran through the hall. A section of the platform holding the royal banners shifted. The crystal structures above rattled, sending tiny shards of light scattering across the polished floor. The nobles gasped, and several guards rushed forward, their movements precise but delayed by the size of the hall. Princess Leora froze for a moment, maintaining her composure. But she was aware that even a small slip could be dangerous. Her instincts told her to step back, but the space around her was limited. The audience watched in tense silence, waiting to see if the ritual of control and discipline would be upheld. Captain Ryan reacted immediately. He knew the law forbade humans from touching the princess or interfering in palace rituals, yet he also understood danger and the value of life. His hand rested briefly on a small stabilizing device attached to his belt. In one swift motion, he threw it onto the trembling platform. The device anchored itself, preventing the structure from collapsing further. At the same moment, Ryan bowed deeply before the princess, his head lowered in a gesture of respect. It was a human bow, meant to show honor and deference without diminishing his own strength. The motion was subtle, yet it carried meaning. The Varelians in the room froze, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. Bowing to the Untouchable was unheard of, almost scandalous. Princess Leora's eyes widened slightly. She had never seen such a gesture, yet it did not threaten her. There was no disrespect in the bow, only acknowledgement. In that instant, she felt a strange connection, a recognition of courage, intelligence, and purpose. For the first time, the rigid walls of tradition seemed to shift, if only slightly. The guards quickly secured the platform, and the tremor subsided. The audience exhaled as one, and the ceremony continued. But the air had changed. Whispers filled the hall, quiet enough that most humans did not hear them. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Some muttered about insolence, while others seemed intrigued by the human's boldness. After the ceremony, Princess Leora withdrew to her private garden, a place few ever saw. The garden floated above the city on a terrace, with waterfalls cascading into crystal basins and exotic plants that glowed faintly in the sunlight. Here she could think freely, away from the eyes of the court. She turned her gaze to the distant horizon, where the human delegation's quarters glimmered. The image of Captain Ryan bowing before her replayed in her mind. There was something noble in the act, a combination of respect, courage, and honesty. In her heart, she wondered if such a gesture could exist in Varelian culture without consequence. Meanwhile, Ryan returned to the human quarters, accompanied by his team. They were tired but exhilarated. Each had sensed the tension in the hall, the shock of the council, and the subtle acknowledgement from the princess herself. Ryan quietly recorded his observations. The Varelians were strict and precise, but the potential for dialogue, understanding, and collaboration was there. He simply needed to approach it with patience. That evening, the palace announced a special private audience between Princess Leora and the human delegation. The council debated whether this was wise, but the emperor approved, intrigued by the humans' unexpected courage. The news spread quickly, stirring both excitement and suspicion among the court. In her chambers, Leora prepared for the audience. She wore simpler robes this time, signaling that the meeting would be less ceremonial and more personal. Her mind raced with questions. Could humans truly understand the ways of the Varelians? Could they respect the rules without being bound by them? And most importantly, what did it mean that one human had dared to bow before her? Captain Ryan and his team were led into the private audience room. The space was smaller than the grand hall, but equally magnificent. Crystal walls allowed a view of the gardens below. Princess Leora stood at the far end, waiting. Her eyes met Ryan's immediately, and for the first time a silent understanding passed between them. "Welcome, Captain Ryan," she said, her voice calm but carrying authority. "Your actions yesterday, they were unexpected." Ryan bowed again, more formally this time, and spoke with measured respect. "Princess Leora, I only acted to protect life. I meant no offense. I honor your presence and your authority." The princess studied him carefully. There was honesty in his words and a quiet strength that was unfamiliar in her world. "Your gesture is unusual in our culture," she said. "In the eyes of many, you should have been punished." Ryan shook his head. "In human culture, respect is shown through action and thought, not just words or rules. I did what I believed was right. I hoped it would serve both of our people." Leora's eyes softened. She had always believed that tradition and protocol were absolute, yet here was a being who could act with courage, respect, and intelligence all at once. "Perhaps there is more to your people than I understood," she admitted. The two spent hours in conversation. They discussed their worlds, their values, and their understanding of leadership and duty. Ryan spoke of humans' curiosity, adaptability, and desire to protect life, even in dangerous situations. Leora shared her experiences within the palace, the weight of responsibility and the limitations imposed by tradition. As the discussion continued, Leora began to see a new perspective. She realized that courage and respect could take many forms. She could learn from these humans without abandoning her own culture. The thought was exhilarating and terrifying at once. By the time the audience ended, the sun had dipped low, casting golden-green hues across the city. Ryan and his team returned to their quarters, aware that the princess's interest was genuine. Leora remained in the garden, looking at the stars. The image of a single bow lingered in her mind, not just as an act of respect, but as a symbol of possibility, change, and the unexpected strength of humanity. The first connection had been made. Tradition had been challenged, and the spark of curiosity had been ignited. Across the palace, both human and Varelian prepared for the days to come, unaware of how far this unlikely bond would stretch, and how profoundly it could change the empire. The untouchable princess, who had been bound by rules and expectations her entire life, began to question what was possible, and the human who had bowed before her had opened a door, one that could lead to a future neither of them had imagined.